97% of the people who quit too soon are employed by the 3% who never gave up. The Love You Miss You Bye podcast. Let's inspire each other. Been down.
Hi. I look nothing like her.
You do look like me.
Not at all.
Mm.
Oh, so now you're eating the pizza. You haven't eaten the pizza for an hour?
Hold on.
I don't know what to say.
Let me stop eating.
I'm making a journal with her as well. We're trying to create a journal. So right now I'm working on the cover, and then I'm going to work on the pages of the journal first, so.
I told them that I will have you on a full episode as soon as your journal is complete, and you can talk about it, and you can sell it as an entrepreneur. Your first venturing of a product.
You're looking for a journal. I got you.
That's my girl. That's my girl. Hi, and welcome to Love You Miss You Bye with me, Christy Chanelle. As you know, I like to tell you guys about the latest podcast or show or TikTok short that I've heard or listened to. And today on the way here, I listened to Now What with Trevor Noah. I always liked his personality. I had seen clips of him, but I had never really sat down and watched his show when he had it. So I kind of bypassed his podcast also. And so I've told myself I'm going to put on things that I wouldn't normally put on. Just maybe I can learn something. I'm in the growth mindset like we've talked about. Well, I couldn't bypass this episode, which had Mark Cuban on it. I love Mark Cuban. Not just because he's from Dallas, not just because he's the coach of the Dallas Mavericks, not just because he's one of the co-hosts of Shark Tank, not just because he's going head-to-head with Big Pharma, with his company Cost Plus Drugs, just because I like him. I like his views. He's just a realistic guy, and I love a really, really good entrepreneur mind. Of course, I'm going to put this episode on because usually if I see his name and he's on some kind of show, I stop and I listen and I watch. Anyway, I listened to the whole show. One of the things he said that I really, really liked, I've always been looking for a way to put this into words. Typically, I will use the phrase, you can go ahead and work for somebody else and build up their dream, or you can work for yourself and build up your own dream. He put it in such a way that he has used the places that were owned by other people when he was coming up. He used them as school. And I never really thought about it that way, but that's what I'm doing too. It's like, I'm in accounting, I'm using it as school because all of that is something you could absolutely take with you to run your own company. Every day I'm in school during the day, and at night I'm also in school because I'm learning every single day. Yeah, that's a pretty cool place to be. What prompted this theme of entrepreneurship was the fact that last night I was talking to my daughter. Now, my daughter hasn't truly figured out the direction yet that she wants to go in life, which is very, very normal for a 21-year-old. You're kind of still figuring out. You don't really know who you are. You don't know what you want to do for the rest of your life. That's a big commitment. So she hasn't really figured it out. Here I am trying to feed the idea that she could possibly work for herself. I want to make sure that my kids know that they have an opportunity to become whatever they want. They don't have to just go to work for a company and stay there the rest of their lives. Yes, you need to start out somewhere so you can make the money to put into your business, but you don't have to stay there like I have or other people have. You have a choice more now than you've ever had. So I keep trying to give my kids that information. In doing that, I said, Hannah, do you want to do my posts for social media? Would you be interested in doing that? And she said she would, because she's also a creative, but she hasn't found the outlet yet that she wants to create. So I'm like, let's try it out. Maybe this is the outlet where you can be a social media manager or something in the realm. Let's test it out. This is the first thing that I ever brought to her that she actually has consistently kept up with, which means she likes it. Yesterday, we started talking, and I'm looking for a product that we can sell under Christy Chanelle. This is part of the whole thing. When I started this, like, I would honestly be completely 100% happy if I just filmed and got to do this every week and edit and do all that. I would be 100% happy. So I'm doing it because I love to do it. I'm doing it because I feel like it's my calling to do it. But there's the other flip side where it's like, I still have the $250 cost every month that's associated with 2 podcasts and social media stuff. And there's a lot of things that go into it. So I need to find a way that makes sense, that fits into this theme and this mode of mindset that I can maybe offer people for, and build it with my daughter. I'm going to take you on the trip with us. I don't know if this will come to fruition or not, but it's an idea. And in entrepreneurship, it's constant ideas. It's like, well, let's try this. Maybe this will work. Maybe this won't work. You don't know until you try it. So what we've started doing is Hannah and I are both big journalers. So I brought up, maybe we should create some kind of a journal and put it out there. And I'm thinking, we have different thoughts on it. Hers is, it's got to have a planner in it. It's got to have, the calendar and da-da-da. And I'm like, I just want a book that has blank pages and maybe you can put a date on there that has affirmations. So we may have 2 different styles going out, and that way, because that's what I do. So let me show you. So right now, this is first of all, it's crappy. It's crappy. I got it from Temu, just so you know. And I know everybody says it's a scammer, but I got to try it myself. I bought this and it was like $13, but I had a discount card or whatever, and it was like $8. So I'm like, oh, it's a good deal. I love the pages. They're so cool. Well, yesterday is the first time I wrote in it, and it's already freaking broken. Seriously. I mean, but I know. What can I expect from Temu? I get it. I'm still going to use it. And so I wrote down ideas for today, and this is what I'm going to use for my ideas. In the digital age, people just put it in their notes. It's harder for me to do that for some reason. It's like I need to write, get it from here to paper. And there's something about it that spawns more ideas for me than typing it into my phone. I don't know. Maybe it's just because that's how I was brought up, on pen and paper. So we started creating last night, and I will show you 2 of the designs. This isn't necessarily what we're going to go with, but this is just the start of the inspiration, the start of creating and seeing what we come up with. I would love your opinion. If you're watching on YouTube, can you tell me which design idea you like better? And then we can build on that and create something even better. I don't know where we'll end up with this. Some people only know that I do this podcast. Some people know that I have a second podcast, and I haven't talked about it yet because I didn't think that there was I didn't want to cross the 2 in case people had a problem with the other podcast. And I'm about to explain that a little bit. Let's rewind. I always refer back to 7 years ago because 7 years ago is when my life changed. It's a very pivotal point in my life. I became a single mom. What am I going to do? I don't have anything for myself. I had been at the same job for about 4 years, and I was happy. I was happy at my job. And obviously I was, because I went on to be there 5 more years after that. What was I really doing for myself? I was living paycheck to paycheck and had no hobbies at all for myself, like none. Binge watching TV was my main hobby. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm saying there's better ways to use your time. And sometimes everybody needs to throw their feet up and watch a good movie. I love it. I love doing that. Now, though, I can't stay still long enough to do that. I try. It's like, if I'm not studying, if I'm not learning, I start to feel guilty. I don't want to fall back into that binge Netflix mindset. You know what I mean? Because I can. I'm human. I can totally do that. I'm like, you know what? This is so much easier than trying to come up with an idea every week. Life was simpler before, but not fulfilling. I don't want to ever fall back into that. And I know some people understand what I'm talking about, because the entrepreneurship journey is a hard one. It's not easy. It's not easy if you don't like failure, and it's not easy if you don't like rejection. I don't like either one. I'm not saying I like either one. I'm saying that I'm willing to take either one if I'm getting to the next level. Because so far, those hits and obstacles have led me into the next journey. All of a sudden, I said to myself, well, I could have a business. Why can't I have a business? Why don't I have a business? Why haven't I even thought about it? Which was really weird because up to 43, I had never even thought I could have a business. And at this point, I hadn't even decided what my business was going to be. Just the fact that I could do it had entered my mind. And so that was my first mind shift. Well, the only limits that were in my own head were my own. Nobody said I couldn't do it, but nobody said I could either. I didn't have people in my life saying, you should probably start a business. Here's how you do it. Like, I wasn't raised with that. The kids in the generation that we are in right now, Gen Zs, they were being taught that. They were seeing other people because the social media was getting bigger, and they were able to see stories and people talking about how they did it. So options and opportunities seem to open up a little faster. So anyway, here I am at 43 thinking, I mean, why not? Why can't I do something? Didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. I want to be completely clear about that, but I don't care. I'm going to try and figure it out. What I do know, I can talk and I have something to say. I do know that my niche is mental health because I've had to deal with it with my mom. I've had to deal with it with my exes, and I've had to deal with getting through things myself. I want to help other people like the way I was seeking help myself and I didn't have the money to get it. That's what I want to do. I want to return the favor. If you can't go get somebody to talk things through, I want to help you get through it by sharing stories, whether it's my personal stories or whether it's other people's stories. I want you to know you're not alone. So back then, I didn't really have the clarity to know that mental health was really the area that I wanted to inspire people in. So I reached out to a friend when I realized that I could have a business. And I asked her, I said, what do you think of the idea of having a business to be about uplifting other women? And she's like, that's a great idea. So she taught me that I needed to go to GoDaddy and type in the names that I was thinking for the business because we would need to lock in the .com. So she taught me how to do all that. I have always used that as my trick. And I always tell people that are thinking to open a business, go to GoDaddy and type the name in first. Go to Google and look up the name first. See if anybody's using it. You don't want your painting business to be tied to feminine products. You need to look up and see what the comparisons will be and how big they are and how it will impact the connection between you guys. I was just going through different names in my head and trying to figure it out. And then I came up with the Sassy. Actually, I can't take all the credit for it. My daughter and I were doing that together, and she came up with the Sassy Onions. And I loved it. I loved it because to me, women are like onions. You know, we're very complex with all the different layers that we have. And so to me, it reminded me a little bit of an onion. And Lord knows we're all sassy. So I knew it had to have a little sass to it. And nobody had the name. We bought the Sassy Onion name, and I have it now. So the Sassy Onions is my first business name. It did not become a company. It just became a name and a .com. So that's when I opened up my laptop and I started talking. They're not good at all. I'm going to play a clip right now for you. Anxiety about it. And it was just like a panic, you know, like, oh my God, I have to go home by myself. Oh my God, there's nobody there. Oh my God, I'm going to be bored. Because Trevor likes to go to his friends and sleep over his friends a lot. Excuse me.
especially on Friday nights. It's like the thing, you know, he wants to go to his friend Ethan's or Caden's and sleep over. And okay, so he goes, and then what? What do I do? Nothing. I'm not a barfly. I really don't want to go hang out at the bar. I find no joy in that at all. So it forced me to find what I like to do, to find what makes me happy. Doesn't make anybody else happy but me. So, I mean, I'm not going to lie. First weekend, I sat there and I like binged watched shows.
Just starting to like look out there, and I went on a couple dates, and that's out there for the internet to see for the rest of my life. And that's wonderful. So I enjoyed it. At the time, Hannah was staying with her dad. I think she went there for a year to be with him. And we were kind of figuring out, does Hannah want to stay in California and go to school? Because she was in middle school and she would be going into high school. Her dad and I decided that wherever she starts her freshman year is where she needs to stay for the next 4 years. She can't go back and forth because she doesn't like something. Like, she needs to stay put and finish out school. I was told by him that she was going to be starting her freshman year there. There was no discussion with me. It was, she's starting her freshman school year and I've signed her up. Okay. I had already disconnected as much as I could at that point so that I wouldn't get hurt anymore. So I had accepted the fact that she was going to live there. Hardest thing I'd ever gone through. And I can remember telling Lori, just sobbing. I'm like, there's nothing I can do. You know, he's the Disneyland dad. You know what I mean? He's the guy, he's the fun. I'm the hard. I'm the real day to day. He's the fun. I can't compete with the fun. I don't even make enough money to compete with the fun. And she said, let it happen. Let it play out. You don't know what's going to happen. Let it go of that. And I'm like, all right, I don't think she knows. I don't think Lori knows what she's talking about. I'm about to lose my daughter. But I listened because what choice did I have? I'm like, okay, you're right. Well, as I start doing all this Sassy Onions stuff and videoing and having a quiet house, more or less, like Trev was there, but he would go sleep at his friends. Like, he was into that sleepover thing that was happening. So whenever he would sleep at Ethan's house, I had a silent house. It was just me in this 2-story house, just me. So I'm like, okay, well, this is the time that I'm going to record. I'm going to make good use of that time, and I'm going to record and talk to people about how I'm feeling about being in this house all by myself without my kids, and how it's scaring me that this eventually will be my life. They will grow up and this will be my life. It all started to hit me in the face at the same time. And it was just like, whoa, I need to act today so that I'm ready for tomorrow. I started recording. Then Hannah comes back. It was the summer. Okay. The summer before she would become a freshman. She comes back the day before she's supposed to get on a plane to head back to California. I'm like, we're packing our bags. She looks at me and says, I don't want to go. And I look at her and say, Hannah, you are about to create the biggest fight you've ever seen. You better know what you're saying and what you're doing. Whatever it is, I will back you 100%. But don't get me involved in this fight if you don't know. She goes, no, I don't want to go. I do not want to go. I want to stay here. Let me stay here. And of course, I want her to be there. I wanted her to stay. But I wasn't the type of person that wanted to force it. I wanted it to be her decision. I don't want to ever be resented for forcing my kids to do something. I want them to have their own opinions and their own choices as long as they're safe. I want to promote that. So she stayed. And from the Sassy Onions, on that visit, I actually have footage, and I'll play that now.
Reason I'm doing all of this. What does it mean to you? Woman empowerment. Women empowerment.
It means when you motivate other women and when they're going through hard things in life, that you can motivate them out of it and you can help them be their helping hand, be there with them, and just connect with them and help them.
Okay.
And I think that's what you're doing. You're trying to connect with people the same situations as you, and you're trying to let them know that you're in it and that you're here to help. And you're like a guidance, a counselor.
Yeah, share experiences to let you know that we're all on the same level.
Counselor.
What is being? I don't know about that. What is being a strong woman to you?
Where I don't care what people think about me. I don't care. I just want to live my life the way I want it. Nowhere else. I want to be my own person, and I don't care what people think about me, and despite the hate.
That's the exact time that this all blew up. So I have a time capsule of it. So it's pretty cool. Because she had chosen not to leave, that completely changed my filming, because I don't like to film in front of people watching me or having people in the background scream, which is happening today. So if you hear voices or something in the background, I'm at my dad's man cave. And when I came in, there was a bunch of family here that I didn't even know were here. So if you hear things in the background, please disregard it. I didn't want to not film today and get an episode out. So hang with me, man. I'm going to get that set up at home, I promise. So anyway, back to my story. I wasn't able to record Sassy Onions because Hannah was there now. And I didn't have that quiet time like I'd had before. It went back to mom mode 100%. So I put it on the back burner. I filmed 10 episodes, 12, 15. I don't remember. I still had the entrepreneur dream. I just knew I wasn't able to do this part. So that was gone. I never thought about it again. That was gone. What I did think about, and it hit me one random day, and this is where some people will agree and some people may turn the channel at this point when I tell you what my other podcast is. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. But I'm still going to share it because this is part of me and this is what I do. And I learned how to step into myself. I learned how to not care what people think sometimes. Not all the time, sometimes. So anyway, I'm going to share it with you. I didn't want to cross the pods, but I'm going to. I get an idea one day where I'm thinking, hemp. I knew hemp was on the verge of becoming legal. I knew this was 2017. So 16 is when I did the Sassy Onions. And then I stopped filming. And then about 17, 18 is when I had the idea of hemp. Not marijuana, but hemp. So again, back to GoDaddy, I start looking up names. What's a really good name? Now this time I come up with a name and it's called Simply Vibin'. I loved it. I still love it today. And she agreed. We bought the .com, which I have now. It's actually live on the internet, and got a business together. We became business partners and 50-50. So Simply Vibin' was now a hemp business. Okay, well, what kind of hemp business do we want to do? Here's the fun fact about this whole thing. Not only was I becoming a business owner for the first time, I choose the industry that is the absolute hardest one to get into, because why not, right? Now, I had no clue what I was getting into. I had no idea how difficult this was going to be. So would it be accurate to say I failed a lot? Mm-hmm. Would it be accurate to say I'm still failing? Yup. And I'm still figuring it out. So we got this hemp business and I thought, my dad has land. What if we just grow hemp crops when it becomes legal? And they agreed. They're like, yeah, we could totally do this. Then in January 2018, hemp is legalized. And I was so excited. I was so happy. I was like, oh my God, think of all the stuff we can do now. I didn't realize how confused people are between hemp and marijuana. Everybody is still confused. I didn't realize that. So I was thinking hemp business, we could grow crops and it would be like a farmer, Soon realized that I don't want to be a farmer. I'm a city girl. I have no desire to be a farmer. I'm just not good at it. Got out of that. And then Renee comes up with the idea of let's have a subscription box, because that was all the rage at that point. I mean, it's still popular now, but it was really popular then. She's like, why don't we have like a CBD subscription box where we can put different products in that people can try because it's legal now. CBD is legal now. It shouldn't be an issue, right? Marketing shouldn't be an issue. Selling it shouldn't be an issue. Nothing should be an issue until it is. We created this beautiful box, black and glossy, and it's got the logo. Oh yeah, we created a logo, which I love, still love. I need to come up with one for Christy Chanelle because I don't have a logo yet, but I know how important that is to have that watermark everywhere. So we created this box and it's got like chocolates and lip balm. It's all CBD and hemp derived. Right around COVID, so we ended up making a hemp mask, the logo on it. We had a tincture, which is CBD oil. We made sure it was organic. I put so much love, Renee and I both did, put so much love into this box. I didn't realize I wasn't going to be able to market it. There was no way to market it because still today, years later, social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Twitter at the time would not allow you to say marijuana, CBD, or hemp. They would allow you to say hemp. Sometimes it would depend. They would make the decision depending on the post, but you couldn't show yourself taking it. You couldn't say the words. You couldn't say that it helped you. You couldn't say that it did anything for you. Every single thing was banned. We couldn't sell them because we couldn't say it on social media. Google did not allow that in the SEO. There was no way to get the word out in the technology world that we live in. I could go and do fairs, except they didn't allow it either. So even though it was legal, I wasn't selling marijuana. I was selling CBD. I was very depressed. I started Simply Vibin'. It was my baby. I felt like a solo 50% partner, if that makes any sense. I am an ideas person. I need that back and forth. It kind of makes my ideas better to go, hey, what do you think about this? No, I don't like it, but what about this? And then it goes back and forth. I'm a creative, so I love to hear your thoughts on what I'm doing. And so I didn't have that really. I had to kind of book time to get that. And then when I got that, it was so different than anything that I was thinking about that I felt defeated. It's like I went weeks. This is a good idea. I'm going to try this. I need to get with her, and then we can talk about it and expand on the idea. And then when I got with her, she would say, well, what about this? And then I would have to wait a long ass time again before we sat and talked again. So it was like, it wasn't good for the creative idea. It wasn't acted upon fast enough. So I just got to the point where I just didn't even want to do it anymore. I was like, well, I can probably still have a business, but I don't think it's not going to be Simply Vibin'. So I put it on the back burner. I knew I still wanted to be a business owner. I knew I didn't want to be a business partner at that point any longer. So I said, this was created by us. And I understand if you don't want me to have 100% of it. It didn't have any profit. I'm either going to dissolve this company or I'm going to take this company. So how do you feel about it? It took about 6 months to really get an answer from her because I think she was going back and forth with it. She wasn't really sure either. And then she called me up, I think it was a year ago. She called me up and she said, I'm going to give you Simply Vibin'. And I felt like I was born again. A passion, a fire lit up under me again. And I was like, Simply Vibin's mine. I had her write up the letter giving me the company. It's in my corporate docs, and Simply Vibin' was born again. I started working on the website. I started working on social media. And then I said, let's start a podcast. Okay. At that point, I didn't have enough self-esteem to think I could carry a podcast by myself. I just didn't. Just like I didn't have enough self-esteem to think I could carry a business by myself. I had to have somebody with me. I learned these steps as I kept going and realized nobody is going to have that fire for a company that's mine more than me. And that was the part I didn't get. I was expecting my business partner to have as much enthusiasm as I had and want to give everything, because I had a goal. My goal was to not work for corporate America anymore. My goal was to work for myself. But if my business partner did not have the same goals, did not want to jump out of her corporate job and have her own company, we were going to keep going in circles until we eventually split. It's just the enthusiasm, the focus wasn't the same. And I'm not saying hers is right or wrong or mine is right and wrong, but I realized that resentment was forming, and I can't work in a situation where I have resentment. I hadn't really messed with Facebook that much on Simply Vibin'. I had probably 200 followers at the time. So I have this other person that I've asked, do you want to co-host with me on the podcast? And she's like, sure. Yeah, absolutely. So we record one podcast. In that podcast, I learn, okay, I can make shorts. I turn part of that first podcast into a short. A short is a small clip of the video and put it on social media. I put that clip on Facebook, who I'm not really thinking is even getting traction anymore. I'm thinking it's all TikTok. I put this clip on Facebook. It goes mini viral. And I don't even know how much it has now, but it's in the 100,000s. Okay. And it's me talking about my being raised around marijuana and how I just thought it was part of my life. I end up with so many comments. I also go from 200 followers to 1,700, almost 1,800 followers. I'm like 3 away from being 1,800 followers. So now I have Facebook followers. It's almost, 1,800. And it's all from one video from a podcast I haven't even released yet. So I'm like, okay, well, that hit and it was allowed to circulate. So I was able to maneuver the word. So when the captions came up, it didn't say the word fully. So I was able to bypass, and I was learning ways I could bypass the social media police. Not always, but a good 50% of the time I could get my content out there. I was learning the game, which I hadn't known the first time, and I was just so defeated. But now I was getting smarter and learning the game. Also, as I'm watching the episode though, and the sound quality wasn't that good. So I scrapped that episode with the viral clip. We film another episode, me and this other person. And I realize while I'm filming it, I'm showing clips and I'm showing the podcast to friends and family because I want to get a vibe check. I want them to tell me how they feel about it. And they're watching and they're coming back to me, including my own daughter and my son, my oldest son. They're like, you don't really need a co-host. And I'm like, oh, but it's so much more fun. I can bounce things off. And they're like, yeah, but I don't think you guys go well together. And I had already kind of felt that way. I'd already sort of felt that way. It was a student teacher kind of a podcast. And I didn't want that. I wanted a equals, hang with me, banter with me, teach me. That was the kind of the podcast scenario that I wanted. So I never released those episodes. I'll just change the co-host. So I asked Phoebe and we work together. And I'm like, do you want to try it? Do you want to just come on an episode and we can record and see what our chemistry is like? And then you can be like a guest every once in a while. And she's like, yeah. Now this time I've learned a little bit. Before I would ask people, do you want to try this? Do you want to do this? And I would ask them again and ask them again and ask them again. And then I got to a point where I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to offer once and then I'm going to recoil and go back and do what I'm doing. You can get on board or you can not get on board. I was burned, I had dealt with a partner that wasn't as involved as I wanted him to be. So I was, if you're on, you're on. If you're not, you're not. I'm going to keep going. And she's like, yeah, I want to. But I didn't bring it up again. Dropped it, walked away. And then she calls me up. She goes, hey, are we going to film tomorrow? And I was like, okay. All right. You want to? And she's like, yeah, I do. I'm like, okay. Told her the theme. We did this whole thing and it was good. I enjoyed it. I thought we worked really well together. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Oh my God. Like, not reality to me. I swear I'm not even high.
I swear I'm not even high.
Why you should have me doing this with you?
All right,
Okay.
wait, we're gonna do this again.
Welcome to the podcast where we talk about cannabis.
Community violation. Code Green Plant.
Throughout the whole podcasting with Phoebe, I was filming cannabis stuff because, again, slowly moving towards mental health. Okay, I was sharing the laws. I was sharing what cannabis can do for you, for your anxiety. I was sharing what hemp seed oil can do for your skin and for your hair. That's the stuff. I was more the medicinal side of this and not so much the smoking side, partying side. Okay, I'm medicinal. As I'm having these conversations with her, my friends and family is saying, I think you should try to do a solo episode by yourself. Okay, maybe I should. So I decided to do a Friday episode. So Phoebe and I release our episodes on Wednesday, and I decided to do a Friday episode where it's my solo series, probably my third episode. And I'm like, I have more to say about mental health than I have to say about cannabis. And I started to completely have episodes that had absolutely no cannabis in it because I was talking about mental health that came from a place of passion. So does cannabis. You're always welcome to go over to Code Green Plant, which is the name of the podcast, and listen to the whole progression of the whole thing. I didn't really send people over there for the mere fact that some of those stories I might reshare here because some people don't care about cannabis. And ultimately, the fact that people don't care about cannabis and don't understand it in the way that I understand it, I had to break free of cannabis to be able to touch more people, which is ultimately my main passion. They connect because cannabis helps anxiety and cannabis helps calm people down, and cannabis is better for you than alcohol. But not everyone mainstream is prepared or wants to hear it or learn it yet. I will drop some here and I will drop some there. You don't have to pick it up. I feel like for the last 5 to 6 years, I've been studying this and I know a lot about it. I share that over there on Code Green Plant, so I'm not going to necessarily cross pods, but I want you to know it's there. Like I said, you're more than welcome to go over to Simply Vibin', the website, or Code Green Plant, the podcast. So in my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, I need a podcast that separates from that. And then Love You, Miss You, Bye was born. I'm not an expert. All I am is a person like you that had to use other resources to get through some really freaking hard times. All I am is a daughter that had a mother that had bipolar, and I had to see what she had to go through and what she had to use to keep her mind strong and steady and calm. That was cannabis. I know how it can help you, and I'm passionate about it. I'm also passionate about big pharma and how they're price gouging and how they're money hungry and greedy. And that is where my love for medicinal cannabis has come to play and why I started in that direction and ended up in this direction. They connect. When I first did the podcast with Phoebe, she asked me, she's like, why are you doing this? You don't even smoke. And I sat there and I just thought, because I'm passionate about what it can do for you. I'm not a smoker, yet I'm one of the biggest advocates out there. Is that crazy? Maybe. But maybe because I'm not a smoker, it means that you're going to trust the fact that I'm looking out for you, that I want something that works for you, just like it worked for my mom, just like it works for a lot of people in America or outside this country. It's a big deal. And I just want everybody's eyes to be open to it. But I also want people to be careful because the stuff that they're selling out there is not all good because it's not federally legal and because it's not regulated properly. They need to legalize it because they're going to be able to remove toxins and things that are in this stuff that people aren't regulating that they need to. I'm going to get off my soapbox on that kind of stuff, but it's important that you know that I'm an advocate. It may or may not change your view of me, and I have to be okay with that. That's how I got here. That's how I realized I want to talk to people that aren't just interested in cannabis, but are also interested in just lifting each other up and inspiring each other. And without Simply Vibin', I don't know that I'd ever found Love You Miss You Bye. So they're both my babies. They both mean the world to me. And so do you. I have failed in Simply Vibin' at least 150 million times. I created a whole product that failed. I created a company that isn't able to sell because the marketing still doesn't allow it. History is about to be changed in the next 2 to 3 years. The big takeaway here is, as I circle back to Mark Cuban, you see why he is a big time entrepreneur in my world. Because of cost plus drugs. And I wanted to hear, I didn't know too much about it, how it is affecting Big Pharma. And it is. It is. He's transparent with the prices of his drugs. It's affecting the pockets of Big Pharma. And it's shaking it up. And he just says it. He goes, we're going to be the ones that take him down. How can you not support that? We should all be cheering him on, supporting his cause, buying the medications from him, because it could save somebody's life that can't afford the big brands. Just my opinion. I really hope that if you ever had the idea that maybe you could be an entrepreneur, that maybe my journey, even though I failed a lot, it's so fun. You might be able to start somewhere. Even if you never thought about it, like me, 7 years ago, when all of a sudden got this idea, like, why can't I do it? Like leaving a fixed mindset into a growth mindset. It just feels like it was yesterday. Maybe that for you was today, where you're not in that fixed mindset that you were before you listened. Maybe? I mean, I'd like to think so. I'd like to think that you took something from it. But even if you didn't this time, just know we are going to talk about it again, and maybe you will the next time. So thank you for being here. If you want to support the show, scroll down to the bottom of the show notes, wherever you're listening, and you will see a support the show link. And you can press that link and it will take you to an area that's mine for Love You Miss You Bye. And you can donate 3, 5, 10, any increment you want to. And it goes towards producing the show. Love You Miss You Bye.
LUMUB podcast.
Love You Miss You Bye has been brought to you by Christy Chanelle, LLC. But if you're looking for more information or want to follow us on social media, go check out ChristyChanelle.com. All the podcasts are streamed there and the YouTube episodes are there. So why not? You can also listen where all podcasts are streamed. This includes Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And lastly, thank you to you, the one that's listening or watching. I appreciate you so much. Love you, miss you, bye.